taking a small piano, an older, pretty much beat up piano, and working on the action for only a few hours to make it much more playable. As you can see already, I've taken the action out of the piano, tightened the screws, taken a leaf blower to it to get the dust out as much as I could, done a quick shaping of the hammers similar to the other video with the steaming and then taking it away, taking a little bit of the outer felt off just to prepare the piano for a quick regulation. Now, one of the first things we're going to talk about is function, what we need the piano to do. Right now, the hammers are sitting all the way down and they're actually clicking on the spring wires here. So we're going to work on raising these up, first by steaming, then by adjusting. But what do I mean about the function of the piano? What the action needs to be able to do. I've got a bar here which replicates the string height, and we need the hammer to come all the way up, nearly touch the string, and then drop back down. Now you can see this is very low. It should come to almost within a 16th or an 1/8. But more importantly, I'd like you to focus on the action, the whipping in the middle here, and the repetition lever. As raises the hammer, you can see the jack trips out. Now if we lower the key just a little, raise the key, let go of the key just a little bit, you can see the jack sneaks back under the knuckle to be able to play again. That's the most important thing for repetition on a grand piano. So that's setting the spring to be able to raise the hammer back up just a touch, to sneak the jack under. Even if the hammer doesn't raise with a jerk, as long as it lifts a little bit like that to allow the jack to sneak back under the knuckle, the action will work properly. So again, the function is as the key is pressed, the hammer's going to raise. We want it to get close and then drop back down. And then when you lift a little bit, the jack sneaks under to be able to strike again. This has almost no aftertouch, so there will be a little bit adjustment after that. Aftertouch, I mean as the key goes down, the hammer releases, there should be a little tiny bit of motion. It's about a nickel's worth at the end of the key to give the pianist a real feeling of security. Okay, here I've flipped the action over, and let's see if we get a better view here. You can see we've got some divots where the felt has been resting on the capstan. So I'm going to go ahead and brush that, then use my trusty dusty iron to steam those up to bring it back before we start turning capstans. So first, a quick brush just to get rid of any crust from all the years of just sitting there. This actually hasn't been played that much, it's just been sitting a lot. This will allow the steam to penetrate a little more evenly, and then we'll see that. Okay, the soldering iron's hot. We get a little steaming sound. Again, a linen cloth. This is an old linen napkin. It's not rocket science, it's not real touchy technique here. At this point we're just trying to inject a little water into that felt. And then don't forget to iron in to stabilize the felt. Again, it's a hot iron, not hot enough to burn the felt, but definitely hot enough to settle in any of the work that's been done already. This again presents us, it's not perfectly smooth, but it's much better than having the divot that was there first. And I do like finishing with some Teflon. There's powdered Teflon available. This is available. Dry spray lubricant is a Teflon. This is quicker if we're talking about just a quick action, not overhaul, but adjustment. There, we've got some Teflon into it. The keys are in pretty good shape, so I'm not going to mess with any of the bushings, but I will again do a little spray of Teflon just to give us a smoother action, a little less friction. Okay, the stack is back on, and you can see with the steaming of the felt and then the ironing of it in, we've got the hammers all up off the rest rail. No more clicking, even though I will raise, we'll get some clicking over here, so I will have to raise some of them up, but instead of adjusting quite so much 88 times, save some time, 8 screws to get the stack off, a few minutes of steaming, and now that I've got the hammers up off the rest rail, it's easy to see how uneven they are. The adjustments will be to raise the capstan to bring the hammers all up into a line. This is where some measurements do come into play. I've taken measurements in the action cavity, how high the strings are. I can measure back, again, to make sure functionally the key comes up, it releases, it drops, and then is able to rise to restrike again. So the next part will be just to establish a hammer line, again with a sample to find out where it is, how high it rises, and we're working on the bench. The final adjustments will be done in the piano, but if you get it pretty close, the work at the piano doesn't take too long at all. There's all sorts of gauges for establishing a level, from a metal one to a wooden gauge to having a string stretched across, which is probably the simplest, a laser level. You could try all sorts of things. Basically, you're just trying to establish a straight line from end to end where the pianos are, which may be adjusted as we establish the aftertouch at the piano. So once we determine where you want it to be, we've got to turn some capstans underneath in there. We'll have to use some sort of wrench. Sometimes the capstans require a little pointed tool to reach in there. This one is a matter of reaching in and then turning. This would be clockwise, which is going to lower it, so I have to go counterclockwise to raise it up. Tedious work, and that's why I chose to steam first, and again using some sort of guide right here to say, okay, I want everything set at the height of this hammer. So I'm going to raise all these capstans up to meet where this guide is. Again, I've measured in the piano to replicate on the bench the height here at different portions, so I know I'm working in the same parameters as the piano. So I've gotten a lot closer, and I just wanted to show you that as you shift it, you can see them come up and down just with the movement of the capstan. And again, for a functional regulation on an older piano where you're just trying to spend a couple hours with it, not do a complete redo and a full regulation on it, we're trying to get close. So you can see with the string that I've gotten a lot closer to being a straight line, and I'll save the rest for when I get into the piano. Go ahead and do the rest of the action as I move over, and then I'll meet you back in the piano. Now it's back in the piano, and it's time to check the let off. One way that the visually sighted use is to depress the key until you feel it engage, and then you can press a little more, give it a pretty firm blow after it's right at let off, and you can see, like this one, doesn't strike. So that